Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and this is the Road to the Record, where I work to achieve mastery of 10 games and a hunt for the best score of the Decathlon. If you like what you see, remember to hit that like button. And if you want to see more, hit subscribe. Let the games begin. This is Motorsport Manager, and this is week 19 of competition. So far, here at the beginning of Season 4, still down in the GP3 category using the Formula 1 Season 2017 mod. And my team is finally, 4 seasons in, showing some real competitiveness. But not all was as one would hope in race number 2 of the season, which happened off camera. So Gil was running okay, mid-pack, but ended up retiring just 3 laps before the end of the race due to mechanical failure. So while I got one car fairly well taken care of before that second race, I was not able to get both cars fit, and I could not get Gil back into the pits. I had been trying to stretch to the end of the race and didn't make it. So did lose a few points there. But otherwise, it was very much still focused on one car getting the result, though I hope to have that changed here now. But the good news is Aaron and the other car that was fit and was competitive. I was actually running 5th on the final lap of the race. 2 cars that were ahead of me that also stretched to the end broke down on that final lap. They crossed the line still. They coasted, but I was able to get past both of them. So a number of cars struggled late in that race to make it to the end. Where the previous race, the first race of the season, lots of cars took pit stops to fix. This race, a lot of cars tried to make it to the end, myself included, and failed to do so, within that final 1 to 3 laps. But with a little help, we ended up 3rd in just the second race of the season. So there's tons of positive signs in the outlook for this year. Next up, we are heading to England and the old airport. And we are just about ready for it. I can't tell you how excited I am by just how different the team stats look here at the beginning of this season compared to previously. The very first season, everything was at the very, 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 very bottom, except for drivers, was like 2nd or something like that. And that picked us up some points. That's why the first season was the best of the first 3. And then the second season, the only thing that was up was sponsors. And then finally, last season, sponsors was still up at the top. Headquarters started to climb out of the cellar. And gosh, that was about it, right? But finally this year, I have a decent staff. Sponsors are still up. The pit crew is steadily improving, and that was another one. As the season went on last year, the pit crew started to come up a little bit. The headquarters is now mid-pack. The drivers is in the top half, and the car is finally competitive. It's still only the 9th best on the grid. So that is definitely the thing that I'm going to continue to address this year. The only one that is up is brakes, and really that came down to the rule change that took it from being a spec part to being something that you work on. So we were actually, we've been up in that top 3 since that change last year. Alrighty, well, so here we are. We are about ready to go and for the next race. Money's looking good, and I think we're ready to go. I definitely think we can grab a top 10 finish, but I don't know if we can grab a top 3. I think we had a little luck in that last race, so I'm going to go ahead and go for the top 10 bonus. And let's take a look at the car right now. Now, with that podium, Arendt is actually in a three-way tie for 5th place in the standings. The only downside to that is it means we're going to start in the back of the pack. Gill, on the other hand, though, is starting right up front on the front row and should have a pretty strong start to this race. But we'll see where we're at per condition. Like, if I don't have a gearbox to put on, Gill might still be struggling a bit this race. Let's see where we're at now. All right, we have new brakes. There we go. And we are supposed to have balanced cars. And really, you're still angry by that? Big difference in engine. Gonna need to get an engine going. That spec engine, though, is so much better than what I had a year ago. Alright, I do have a better gearbox now, so that's very good. We do have a second one done, but it's not ready to be put on a car yet. And Gill has the better suspension, so why are you so mad? It's the engine. Just such a huge gap in the engine. Well, I might as well. If you're already going to be angry, I might as well make the other car truly better. Yeah, see, you're just as angry as you would have been. And the estimated race position for Arendt is now 12th instead of 14th. It's still 20th for Gill, though, so that is really down to that engine. We need to get a new engine soon to at least have 2 competitive engines. But brakes are good now. Gearbox is good now, though that second one's not ready. And we have 2 suspensions as well. So really the only area we haven't touched is the engine. And checking in. We're just going to get that gearbox up and running. Meanwhile, those are all the parts to max out. Okay, let's head to the race. Again, there's no qualifying at this level, so that is where Gill's going to have that advantage, starting second on the grid. And practice is very short, so it's all about getting the setup right, so you're ready to go on race day. The bonuses are very, very hard to get much of a bonus with such a short session. Alright, looks like it's dry for practice. Okay, and we're probably going to be running soft tires throughout the race. Speed balance needs to be up more towards top speed, so I'm actually going to assume that Arendt is going to need that as well. So let's go ahead and shift that up a bit. Okay, and we're going to put you on the softs as well, because there's not a huge difference either way, really, but those few extra laps could help push us towards the end of the race. All right, both cars heading out onto the track, and as per is my usual with these super short practice sessions, I'm going to go ahead and bring in both cars immediately without completing a lap. Just from getting this run around the track and straight back to the pits is enough for the drivers to provide feedback and therefore be able to make the adjustments to the car. Alright, setup's not looking so hot, just 79% after the first go. Good job adjusting the speed balance beforehand, but we've definitely got work to do on the handling. It's going to be hard to tell whether it's understeer or oversteer without that first level of feedback. Downforce is good, so we shouldn't be too far off, but again, we're not sure whether I need to add or take. Alright, I will try that. And we'll get back out there. Okay, poor and great on this side, so actually even worse, only 74% for Gil. And similarly, we'll give that a shot, see how that goes. Both drivers heading out onto the track. We're going to bring them both back in right away. I know there have been plenty of races where I've had an extra advantage on setup by going this method. So only 82%. So it looks like the downforce is going to have to go. We're going to have to add downforce. And the speed balance too. Back towards acceleration just a little bit. So let's see, I was on the tip of the F before, and that was good. So I need to get over to the W. There we go, right below the W there. And then handling is now good. From poor. It still probably needs to go more to the left, I would imagine. And we went from great down to good, which means the speed balance actually needs to come back the other way. Now, that's good. This might hit great, but probably not, so let's push that a little further. Okay, give that a shot and head back out onto the track. Meanwhile, similar story for Gil. One thing the right direction, two things the wrong direction. We were just okay before, so we need to come quite a bit. Maybe over into the O a little bit. Okay, now we are great on the handling, so it's close. And the speed balance needs to come over into the N. Okay. How are we looking? That was poor. This is great. I don't know if left or right is going to be right. So let's not spend another 5 seconds to assume which way to go on this one. And we'll see in the feedback from this lap. Alright, get both cars back out there. Quick run around. I would like to get a lap going at this point, but the setup's not close enough, so once again, alright, I did make the assumption that we needed to go left, but didn't want to waste the time, and I was right, we needed to go left. speed balance is spot on now. Downforce is almost spot on. Now it's mostly just the handling that needs to come over to about here. Yes. Maybe too far. Okay, bring that over. There you go. Meanwhile, that's no change on the downforce, so let's get just a little bit in there. Okay. And we're so close over here, 97%. Now what I could do is I could try that, see what we get. It's only 5 seconds. Just get that last little tweak to maybe get it perfect. Alright, now I think I should be able to run a lap now. Both cars are just about right on, and we're just hitting the level 1 bonuses. We'll get one more look at them before. So let's go ahead and run a single hot lap on these two cars, which they're running the hot lap now. Getting around. There we go. Just 16th and 20th, but again, I'm running on tires that are already fairly well used, and we weren't running for pace or anything. I mean, that's just late in a run or medium through a run. Nice, Aaron. Excellent, excellent, excellent across the board. 99%. So that move was perfect. We added the 2%. So in that case, you're going to head back out and give it everything you've got tire wear wise. And great, great, excellent here. Up to 97% now. So we can add that hair more downforce. I'm not going to mess with the handling though. And same thing, we're just about to hit level 2. It should do it in time. We're going to push both of them, use whatever's left in the tires this time. I don't know if they're going to get a hot lap in or not. We've got 1 minute. Errant is a bit closer to the start-finish line and might make it. It's only a minute 16 per lap, so yes. Ooh, they both got the lap started in time. Nice. A little extra that time. And they're down to 40%. They only went around, what, maybe 8 times? So, really, those tires are only going to be good for about 8 or 9 laps. Still 16th and 20th, but again, I was running with tires that were very much not ready for a full race. And look at that, everybody else is running super softs. But if we're only getting 9 laps out of the soft tires, I don't see how they're gonna last on the super softs at all. Alright, so 10% bonus over a couple seconds in the pits. A couple seconds isn't going to make that much difference. You can definitely get more than a couple seconds out of that bonus. If it was 5%, I think I would go with it. Oh, wow, same thing. Okay, so that's a 20% bonus overall. The downforce move has now hit excellent, so almost perfect setup for both. And we are gonna have a rainy race almost immediately. So it looks like we need to be on the intermediates along with everyone else. And I don't even want to run hard at the beginning. Because it looks like we're going to be in for a stretch on intermediates. You run hard early, those things are going to heat right up and toast them. Alright, hopefully everybody's in the intermediates. Yes, the front of the grid is. And so is the back of the grid. So everybody's on intermediates. So no advantage or disadvantage to be gained. The only advantage or disadvantage here is I'm not going to run as hard as everyone else here at the start. Let's see if that plays as a strength or a weakness for me. I would imagine it's going to mean a position or two lost here early on. Gil has dropped from second to third. But Erin's holding her position at 16th right now. There's the rain. Okay, the rain is hitting. I thought it might take a minute. It only took a few turns. And it looks like it's only going to last until about lap 6 or 7. Yeah, the rain should be stopping around lap 6. Which means I actually can get a little bit more out of these tires. So I'm going to push just a little bit on these tires. But that also means I could push on the engine a little bit. Both cars should not be facing any dangers in terms of failure this race. I think we've got that suitably taken care of. If I'd known that we'd only be facing this small amount of water on the track, I think I would have tried to go with the soft tires. And the track's only damp right now. Looks like the rain might be coming back. Yes, it will. The track is not going to dry out. The rain's going to be coming back. So at this point, I really need to just manage the tires for a long stint. Turning up the pace has brought Erin back up a couple of positions here early on, but Gil is just sliding back. I think that's the that weakness in the engine that Gil has. There are some longer stretches where you are full throttle. You can really look throughout here. And even here, you're not slowing down that much to get through this final stretch. This stretch, you're full throttle. This stretch is full throttle. So it's definitely hurting Gil today, but Erin is a bit more competitive. There's, Paragon again. Starting right from the front, third race in a row, finishing last. Paragon is not having a good season. Alright, yeah, it looks like that dampness on the track is going to hold for a long time. Now, I have not used the... Actually, now's a good time to use for Gil. Get down that front stretch, put a little gap in there. Erin hasn't used it at all. We've just been saving up the ERS so far. In terms of fuel, we've got 7 laps worth. And in terms of tires, let's see, we're a third of the way burnt through them in 4.5 laps, which means I should make it to about lap 9, another 4.5 laps. That should work out okay with the fuel. However, that will mean we would definitely have 2 stops if it stayed green throughout and if it stayed wet throughout. Alright, so we're in the back end, but we're definitely staying mid-pack. Things are staying pretty close outside of Johnson, who's pulling away. And Pulcini and Alessi, second and third, have pulled away just a little bit from Lorandi in fourth, but otherwise everybody's pretty close together, which is one reason why I'm saving up the ERS at this point. There's not much to be gained from it. Alright, here's that stoppage in the rain. That is only temporarily. The track's only going to dry out a little bit here. This might be a better time to cash in on the ERS a little bit. Here's a good little spot for a push. 2 positions gained. If Arendt can hold it. Still side by side, and Arendt does complete the pass. Now 16th on the grid. And still plenty of ERS left. The rain has not stopped yet. It is still drying out, surprisingly. And looking at the tire status, we are going to need to pit soon. Gill's going to push up this time. No position gained, though. Just closing the gap a little bit there. Arendt going for the pass on the outside with the ERS behind us, making the double pass. Can't complete the pass, and then with the ERS, the car behind us was able to make the move. Calderon. Alright, here comes the rain again, and Arendt looks like probably could use the pit now. Let's go ahead and do it. Plus, it's going to help with the track conditions, as cars are not going to make very good time right now. The rain is going to pick up there, lap 13, 14. But it's going to be this way for a while, so let's stick with the intermediates. Let's fill up that tank. Car condition is excellent. 14 seconds in the pits. No one has pit yet. We're going to be the first car in. Not necessarily a good thing, but it will give us some clean air to run in for a little while. And if there happens to be a full course yellow, Arendt could actually really benefit from that. Okay, so Arendt heads back out onto the track. And let's get ourselves running a little fast. Gill, meanwhile, I think could make it one more lap. 35% is pushing it, but I think we can squeeze one more. Okay, we are going for the pass here. And complete 2 passes, so Gill back up into 12th. While Arendt is running in the back of the pack. However, nobody pit on this lap either, surprisingly. But Gill's definitely going to have to come in this lap, and you can see a lot of cars are opting to do the same. It looks like the rain is going to stop around lap 15, which is 13 laps before the end. It's going to be a couple laps before it dries out, so we might have to try to make a push on softs over a long distance to the end of this race. So we're going to get in those intermediates. We're going to fill up. And it's going to take 16 seconds for Gill. A little bit slower of a pit stop here. Partially because the fuel burn is a couple more laps further along. Gill has been repassed there. Go ahead and use whatever you got left in those things. Run harder, Gill. Get there, get there. Alright, I'm definitely going to push on the front stretch. here for Aaron. See if he can't grab a couple of positions. Meanwhile, Gill, so far so good on the pit stop, fueling up and heading back out onto the track. And there we go. Here's that push for Arrett. And let's see, fly past some cars up into 12th place. So good move by Arrett there, though Arrett's tires are definitely going to be a couple laps older, but fuel is a couple laps lighter for Arrett. So I think Arrett shouldn't have too much trouble hanging on to that position. And here is Gill. Let's drop that down to a push. And both cars still have a little bit of ERS, but they did use up a fair amount. And the next round of pit stops are going on. Only 2 cars left that have not pit yet. That's Jorg and Kvyat down at this level. Which Kvyat lost his ride at the Formula 1 level. Not sure where he's racing this year. Okay, so after the pit stops, Arrett is now 8th. Gill fighting right now for 11th and 12th with a whole slew of cars behind. I'm going to have to maybe try to push to get a gap and not get caught behind this mess. So front stretch is definitely Gill's going to get a go here as Gill's sliding backwards right now. Those last 2 cars are in. And here we go, Gill. Let's go, buddy. Get one of those back. Oh, can't even hold that. Okay, so Gill does not keep the position, so stays in 14th. Meanwhile, here is Arrett. Just hanging on to 8th place here over Carroll. Again, the tires are a bit more used, so Aaron's not going to quite have the pace. Still racing solidly. We are mid-pack right now. Alright, here's that heavy rain. And it looks like we're still going to get showers, so we're not going to be in a position to pit until around lap 20, which is good for those soft tires to the end. Like I said, about 9 laps is all they can get, so it looks like we could probably go to the softs on lap 20, which means I've got to make it another 6 laps on these tires. I don't think that's going to be a problem for Gill. However, that could be a big problem for Arrett. Alright, now Arrett's got some ERS to use here. I'm going to save that for the front stretch. So far, just the one crash by Paragon, who has been doing that all season long, right around that first lap or so. Okay, just a little boost to the ERS to close that gap on Carroll. And then we've got another stretch coming up here to further close that gap. And definitely distance ourselves over the 10th place car. Meanwhile, Gill hanging on to 14th, but has lost that group that Gill was running with. Okay, the rain has stopped. There is that one short shower we're supposed to get, but otherwise the track is going to start to dry out. Go ahead and use that ERS with Gill here on the front stretch. Okay. And closes back down on that group. So that's a good move there. And meanwhile, here is Arrett still on that same gap on Carroll. So now that Carroll's tires are no longer fresh, Arrett is holding the position just fine. But tire wear, okay, tire wear, 43%. I wanted to get to lap about 20 or 21. We are down to damp, so technically I could put on the softs. And it looks like the track will dry out other than this really quick shower coming up here in a moment. We're going to have to stretch this as far as we can. Meanwhile, Gil should be good to go until we're ready to stop. But I've only got less than 3 laps of fuel, so 2 more laps at most. But Aaron, ideally, I'd like to pit this lap, but that's not happening. We're going to have to wait at least 1 more lap, especially with this quick shower here. So there's definitely going to be some strategy behind this race. Aaron is the one that's going to be going for it. Ooh, nice pace there, the ERS. But Carroll just took off using their ERS. Not at a very good placement, but still took off on us. Aaron is down to 29% and less than 2 laps worth of fuel now. Gonna have to pit this lap. Have to. Ten laps remaining. Aaron's gonna have to get at least 1 extra lap out of those softs. Track is damp and going to dry out pretty fast. That's enough fuel to make it to the end. Supposedly, that's enough. I'm going to put this much in. 15 seconds on the stop. Rear wings down to 49%. The engine's down to just over 50%, but we're close enough to the end that that's not going to be an issue. So Aaron will make it to the end. We're going to need these tires to go the distance, though. Gil can definitely get 1 more lap or more. Maybe 2 more. Fuel-wise, I think we can make it 2 more. Okay. Clean stop. Aaron's the first one to go once again. We're going to take it easy on those tires for now. The rain has stopped since coming into pit, and that track is nice and dry. We're going to watch those times. If those times are coming down, we'll get Gil in sooner rather than later. Still losing time at the moment, though. Still losing time. We've lost 0.7 of a second. Okay, 1 second slower. So Aaron was 1 second slower after getting up to full speed, which is not a lot. The moment we start seeing that shift the other way, Gil, yeah, we are gonna. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it this lap. I was going to try to wait 1 more, but if you're ready for it now. Yeah, fuel at pit stop's 0.87 anyway, so you weren't going to make it another lap around. That's what I was trying to watch for. Okay, we're going to put 1 extra lap worth of fuel so we can run a little harder. Similar situation as Aaron, though your park condition's not quite as good. 13 seconds on the stop, and you should be good to go to the. Actually, you will definitely be good to go to the end on those softs. Okay, now looking at that time, we still lost close to a second. Larandi put on the super softs, surprisingly. I think they'd be good to go on that. Alright, so right now, Arrant is 15th, coming out ahead of everybody but Larandi, and Gil mid-pack of those that have pit. Here comes the next group. Now I can start to see more of them going super soft than softs as they're making it that extra lap. And sadly, the time was still there, so I really could have allowed Gil to remain out one more lap, which was what I'd been hoping for. Okay, so Arendt pushes all the way up to 9th, and Gil up to 13th with those pits, and Johnson is the last one to pit, who is well out in front. And they're back on the track still with a huge lead. Alright, now I've got to manage these tires to the end. We are less than 6 laps away from the end of the race, though. So I think that would count as 6 laps right now. So 6 laps to go. Arendt still a little bit worried about those tires making it all the way to the end. Make sure they don't get too cold. And in terms of excess fuel, we only have a little bit excess. Arendt's gap is somewhat big in front and behind, while Gil has two drivers just behind. So Gil, I'm going to need to open that gap up a little bit. Looks like one of them are making a move right now. Yeah, Gil just slipped back a spot. At least open that up a little bit behind us. Okay, 4 laps remaining, but we are only about halfway across. Johnson's running away with this thing, 18-second lead. Okay, now down to that 4 laps. I gotta watch Arendt. Arendt does not have much in terms of excess fuel left. In fact, let's go ahead and back off some. We're gonna need to use that ERS to open that gap back up, especially now that we turned the engine mode down a little bit. My goal right now is to hang on to this 9th place. If I get lucky, a couple of those on the Super Softs may end up pitting again if they can't make it the distance, or if their tires get totally worn on the last lap or two, we might be able to gain a spot that way. Okay, let's go ahead and open up ERS here for Arendt. Save some of that. Okay, we got a little bit of a boost. And same here for Gil, who has actually dropped another spot now, down to 15th. Okay, we just went under 3 laps to go. Arendt is just under 3 laps on fuel. Gil still a little over 3, so we'll keep the engine mode up for now. 2.5 laps for my drivers left to go. So I think we're going to just make it with Arendt on the tire wear, while Gil is going to be just fine, and we'll be able to push pretty hard on the final lap and see if we can't gain a spot or two back, while Gil's sitting 15th right now. And yes, hey, there's one car. Lorandi, who pit early and put those super softs on, did have to pit out, and Gil is also going to gain that spot. So Gil is up to 14th now. Arendt is up to 18th. And we are still... Johnson has started the first lap with a huge lead, coming around ready to start lapping the field. But I can't start miscalculating there. Pulcini, Mena, Ericsson, all hurting on tire wear just ahead of Gil. So I think Gil can start gaining some real time on those 3. Okay, Arendt has 1.3 laps of fuel. going into the final lap. Okay, here is Gil in that three-way battle. Has just over 1 lap worth of fuel left, so we've got to be careful there. Okay, putting the pressure on. Gil makes the pass even though the ERS was used up, had enough speed, so Gil is up to 13th. Arendt is running still in 8th. Use everything you got left. Use everything you got left. Let's go. Okay, there's Arendt. Stays true for 8th. There goes Gil past Pulcini. And here on this final push, just barely enough fuel to get to the end, and Gil finishes 12th. So solid mid-pack finish. Arendt 8th, Gil 12th. That is a good race. I didn't do it with any crazy strategy or anything like that. That was just a car that belonged in the middle of the pack. And the difference between the two cars was clear in that engine. So as I start to improve the engine over these next couple of races and get some new engines in each of those cars, I think we can solidly be top 10 race in, race out, both cars. So good job. Well done. I will definitely take that. I doubt we're going to have any cars with any issues yet. But there you are. Somebody broke the rules. They only went from 4th to 6th in the standings, though. And the only car not to finish was Paragon. So the parts woes of the past seem to now be the past. Everybody's was good to go on that race. A lot of points picked up for Johnson, who gets the win and the fastest lap. Clearly, 23-second gap to the second car. They could have pit and still come out and won that race. Okay, Arendt drops 2 places to 7th, but that's good because that's moving up the grid 2 places on the starting grid for next race. Gil does move up 2 places, though, and that does mean that Gil's going to start 4th, so Gil's got to start a little further back. But with an engine upgrade, even if it's the hand-me-down from Arendt, Gil's going to be so much faster next race. And I think Gil's going to start climbing through the standings quite a bit as well. As a team, 6th place in the standings. After hovering around 10th for all of the last 3 seasons, to be sitting here mid-pack and only 2 points out of 5th. And I think we can creep up even higher as the season goes on. As I have the money to spend and new parts to put on the car as the season goes on. Looking good. Looking real good. But that does it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. And remember, I'm aiming for the best of the best. So if you're ready to join me on my journey, hit subscribe. And tune in next time on my road to the record. Bye for now.